Hello, sorcerers! My name is Chance, welcome to my spellbook, and thank you so much for tuning into the 6th episode of our Metamagic series. Today we're going to be going over Quickened spell, which is one of the most popular metamagics, and it has a ton of crazy good, useful applications that we'll get into in a little bit here. But before we take a look at its description and flesh it out, if you'd like to check out the full playlist in its entirety, you can do so by either clicking on that little eye icon up top there, or waiting until the end of the video and clicking on one of the end credit screens. In any case, let's dive right into its description. When you cast a spell that has a casting time of 1 action, you can spend 2 sorcery points to change the casting time to bonus action for this casting. Needless to say, gaining your action back or retaining your action instead of using it is super useful. A quick side note though, you can only cast 1 leveled spell per turn, so no double fireball, but you can like quicken spell fireball and then use your action to cast a cantrip or something of that nature to kind of clean up the mess. That being said, however, there are far more useful applications of Quickened spell than even that. That being said, let's now take a look at my personal thoughts. So there are a couple ways of using Quickened spell without necessarily worrying about damage. One of the most common I've seen is combining Quickened spell with Hold Person, and then just walloping into the guy. This is most commonly done with Paladin Sorcerer hybrids, which are relatively common, seeing as how Charisma is super useful for both of them. So how it would play out is they'd use their Quicken spell to cast Hold Person as a bonus action, and then walk up to him and just smite that ever-loving heck out of him. This works really well because Hold Person applies the Paralyze condition, and any strike to a creature that's paralyzed is an automatic crit. That being said, this is a little risky simply because the paladins don't have a ton of spell slots out of the gate at least, and it kind of depends on how many levels they pump into sorcerer to really get the most bang for their buck out of this. That being said, however, it is really good. Another interesting use I've seen with Quicken spell is if a caster is fleeing. They will often use Quicken spell to reserve their action so that they can use that for a dash. This is super useful if the enemy is kind of within 5 feet of you, as you can Quicken spell something like Shocking Grasp in order to remove their reaction entirely, and then since they can't take an attack of opportunity on you, you run away and then use your action to dash and clear even more distance. You can also hypothetically use this to get out of counterspells range in a relatively similar manner. There's a ton of interesting uses for this, and a lot of that has to do with just how versatile actions are in general. That being said, there are certainly more conventional uses, like at higher levels you can cast Fireball, Quicken spell, and then something like Eldritch Blast, which at higher levels is capable of hitting multiple different enemies, and that's kind of the most common combination when you want to clean up any survivors of that Fireball, right? You just allocate whatever blast to however many enemies are standing up, and that'll usually do the job more times than not, although I suppose it does depend on the enemy. But those are kind of some of the main strategies I see with Quicken spell. That being said, let me know what you think down beneath in the comments section. Be sure to mention any thoughts, questions, comments, or concerns with regards to Quicken spell. And if you'd like to gain access to a free one-shot, please check out the Guild Hall and use code WELCOME for yours. And as always, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and of course, happy adventuring.